Hello, beautiful soul. Welcome to the Elevate Your Soul podcast. Today, I want to talk to you about how to stay positive and stay in a high frequency when the world may be going through a lot of chaos and stress and fear right now. And I would love you to apply what you learn in this episode because it is highly, highly relevant with what's going on right now. And if you feel that there were some notes and there were some key things that you could take away from this episode that have helped you or inspired you to get through this time, please share it and offer support and help for somebody else who you might know is struggling right now. First of all, I want to mention this idea in the spiritual community that's been really popular in the last few years is to live in your little unicorn butterfly bubble and only be around people who make you feel good. And if anyone challenges you, they don't deserve to be in your life, and only do things that really make you happy and always stay positive and never feel any other emotion other than happiness, which part of that I do agree with, but we're not all gurus, we're not all Buddha, and we have a lot of shit underneath our skin, in our deep tissues, in our subconscious mind that we need to cleanse, that we need to actually take a look at. And that is called shadow work. It's looking at the trauma wounds from the past and not being blindsided by this, because it is a huge part in evolvement and to enlightenment and to live a happier, lighter, more fulfilling life. And there is a name for this. Someone who doesn't want to dive into their past traumas or do their own shadow work, it's called spiritual bypassing. And spiritual bypassing is sadly quite a common thing in the latest spiritual trend. And people are afraid to do the shadow work and look at those feelings that are uncomfortable, those memories that are uncomfortable, those times that are uncomfortable, and they're bypassing that by going into a meditation or working out intensely at the gym or spending time with people all the time, so that they're avoiding this issue that needs to actually be looked at. Or there's numbing devices as well, such as overeating, smoking, drinking alcohol, those sort of things. So it's important that we're not spiritual bypassing, that we're not avoiding the big giant elephant in the room that needs to be dealt with. And the reason why I bring this up is I feel it's pretty relatable about what's going on in the world right now. There is a lot of chaos going on right now. There is a lot of fear on the planet right now. There is a lot of control happening right now, and a lot of people are being lied to right now. And I think it's important that we have awareness and that we realize that these things are happening, because the more you know and the more awareness you have, the more power you have. And the more power you have, the less helpless you will feel. And the less helpless you feel, the less fear you have. The less you're coming from a place of fear, the less you are energetically vibrating at a place of fear, the less you are speaking from a place of fear, and the less decisions you're making for your life from a place of fear. So don't be afraid to look at the darkness, because there is a lot of darkness in the world today. And not looking at it or not wanting to focus on it because it might ruin your vibration right now is really immature and is really childish and isn't going to help the planet. It's not going to save or change the amount of destruction and darkness and pain that is going on in the world right now. This podcast episode may be really, really triggering for you, because there is a lot of darkness happening right now. whether you think there is or not, or whether you know there is deep down and you're just not wanting to focus on it. There's a lot of child trafficking happening in the world today, right now. There is a lot of abuse, manipulation, and greed, and a lot of children are starving and dying from not having enough food and being malnourished and not having the energy or the health to keep living their life. And I'm not just talking about the third world countries. A lot of pain and torture and pedophilia and trafficking is actually happening in first world countries, in the Western countries as well. And I don't want this podcast episode to be some dark and depressing topic to make you feel worse about yourself. Because the reason why a lot of us are actually avoiding researching these things, learning about these things, is because it lowers our frequency. We feel sorry for all of the people getting hurt in this world, and we also feel helpless because we want it to stop and we don't know what to do about it. And personally, I don't have all the answers myself, but I do know that the only way this planet can change, the only way we can end suffering on the planet, is if we become aware about all the darkness that is happening on our planet, or else there will be no change. And you can take that analogy and reflect it on yourself as well. And this is what I mean by spiritual bypassing and doing your own shadow work. If you're ignoring the fact that you're carrying pain and trauma in your cells, you're never going to overcome that. You're never going to run away from it. No amount of laughter or traveling or distraction or numbness or glasses of wine are going to take that pain out of your body. You have to consciously dive deep and do the work. And literally, it's like surgery. You're going to dissect that pain and get rid of it consciously. So I'm not going to make this episode about conspiracies either. I'm not going to go into what I think is happening in the world or what I've been researching or anything like that. But I highly, highly, highly encourage you who's listening to this episode to do some research on what may be happening in the world right now. Why we're being put on lockdown, why the coronavirus started, where did the coronavirus come from, why are we given a stimulus package, where is the money from the stimulus package coming from, whose money is it? Is it free money or do we have to pay someone back? I highly encourage you to do some research and stop bypassing and not wanting to learn anything, because guess what? When you learn new perspectives and when you learn new things and have more information, it's hard to keep doing what you're doing and just focusing on yourself. That becomes really hard. And it pushes you to change. It might push you to change the way you eat, change the way you think, change what you decide to buy and consume on this planet. And to be honest, a lot of us want to avoid that because a lot of us don't like change. And that is built into our DNA. That is like an instinct we have. We don't like change as human beings, but change is where all the beauty and growth lies. Now, when you're doing this research and you're finding out new things, and when I say research, I don't mean watch CNN or Fox News. I'm not saying look at the news. I would encourage you to step away from mainstream media, which is the news, and do some research on things that aren't being spoon-fed to us from the media and from the news. And when you're doing this and you're researching things, and you're most probably going to find some things that may disturb you, and you might also find some things that are really, really positive. A lot of psychics are saying right now, this is the birth of a new era. This is like a beautiful opportunity. This is a huge change in life. It's actually going to end world suffering. It's going to make the world a more fair place. There's a lot of positive things happening right now as well. And there's a lot of darkness happening right now. There are two very extremes. And if you're going into the rabbit hole or you're researching and you find things that may be a bit disturbing or upsetting, it's important, first of all, not to shut off, not to close your mind to the thought that this may be real, because that is called avoidance, and that is similar to spiritual bypassing. Is you're like, oh no, it's not true. Oh, that's really dark. I don't want to believe it, because then that means I'm not going to feel really good and I'm not going to have a good day. So it's important to think outside of yourself and have an open mind and trust your intuition. When you're doing research and you're looking at the news or whatever it may be, trust your intuition. If something feels right in your gut and in your body, listen to that. If you're listening to something, even if it's science or even if experts are saying it and it feels wrong to you or it doesn't feel quite right, then question that. Don't just believe it. And if you're hearing things from people who aren't scientists, but it feels right and it feels the truth, then you have the right to believe that. And you have the right to believe anything you want to believe, and no one else can change your mind. But the more information you have, the more research you do, the more awareness you develop, then the more likely your mindset and your perspective is going to change. And if your perspective on some things change, like, wow, there's a lot of horrible people on the world. Wow, I don't even want to be here anymore. There's so much darkness. This is why I wanted to actually make this episode. Going back to my point of how to stay positive, how to stay happy, and how to stay in your own high frequency when you're reading things or seeing things that are quite disturbing or upsetting for you. And the main thing I want to say is it's most important to focus on what you can control. So yes, start thinking big, start thinking large. What can I do to help this planet? What can I do to save lives? What can I do to make people happier? What can I do to not contribute to suffering and to contribute to happiness? What can I do to educate people? What can I do to bring awareness and inform people with the knowing that you may not be right? Because everyone thinks they're right. That's why they believe it, right? So focus on what you're in control of. Focus what you can do. And what you are in control of is also your own frequency, is also your own emotional state. And by doing this, you need to remember and focus on the things that elevate your soul. So if you find some news that is upsetting, take a moment to think, what can I do to change this? Is there anything I can do to contribute to this, to make this situation better, to not make this situation worse? And then think about yourself. Okay, I may be feeling really sad right now. Okay, my vibration might have dropped. I might be at a lower frequency right now. You may cry. You may let that wave wash over you and let it out. And then how do you move on from there? Because you don't want to be stuck in that low frequency. You want to move forward. So what things do you know that you do in your life that make you feel good? That are also good for your health? Because a lot of us like alcohol, and that's not really good for your health. And that is a numbing device. So that's short-term thinking, and that's long-term distraction and not good. So think about your passions. Think about your hobbies. What can I do? What do I enjoy doing? And let me do that now so that I can pick up my frequency. And if you're someone who's stuck with this thought and you're someone who's like, I don't know what my hobbies are and I don't even know what my passion is in life, then do something that will boost your frequency short term. And that is something like dancing, putting on your favorite music, putting on happy songs, like who doesn't like the Spice Girls, for example? Putting on something that is high vibe, that makes you want to move your body, dance to it, sing to music. That would be my number one recommendation. Going in the shower is another really good one. If you can, go for a swim, jump in the pool, go for a bath, jump in the ocean. You can't really swim in the bath, but you get my point. But having a shower is really good as well because you're washing. It's like a cleanse. You're washing that negative energy off of you. So it's important like not to reach for the foods that are high in sugar, not to reach for the glass of alcohol, not to reach for the cigarette or drug or whatever. It's important to elevate your state without numbing the state. So yes, move through that emotion that may not be so pleasant to feel, and then pick yourself back up. It is no one else's job to pick you back up. But in saying that, I am for calling a friend, texting a friend, or asking a friend, hey, I'm feeling a little bit low right now. Like, can we talk or whatever? Or you don't even need to mention you're feeling low. Just call someone and be like, hey, what's up, my home dog? And whatever you need to do. You just need to be creative and take a moment to go inwards and ask yourself, what do I need right now to elevate my soul? What do I need right now to elevate my state? What do I need right now to bring my frequency higher? And to be honest, if you're someone who wants to help the planet and want to help people and create world peace and end world suffering, it starts within you. Learn how to take care of yourself. Learn how to be a happy person yourself. And I'm not saying you have to become this in order to help someone else, but do it alongside it. Don't lose yourself by helping other people. And don't only focus on yourself and your own emotional state without thinking about anyone else. That's when balance comes in. Balance is so important in life. So I'm hoping you guys could gain something from this. If you're in a fear state right now and you're worried about your parents getting this coronavirus or whatever, or getting sick, or you getting sick yourself, or your children or whatever, it's important to remember to pick up your frequency, not only for yourself, but for your children and for your friends or your family or your partner or for the people you're just living with. Because your energy field goes on, it expands beyond this planet. And yes, the people who are closer to you will feel that a lot more. It might only go 2 meters to the point where it's really extreme and where people can really feel your frequency and your mood that you're vibrating at, but it goes beyond that. So the higher frequency you're running at, the more that actually heals the planet. And I'm not saying that you need to stay in high frequency right now when all this shit and chaos is going on. Allow yourself to feel sad. Allow yourself to be vulnerable and use this time wisely. I'm using this time to grieve on some things in the past. I'm having crazy dreams lately about bursting into tears to the point where I've suppressed so much sadness from my past that I can't catch air anymore, and that I actually run out of breath and die because I've had so much sadness and tears suppressed. So it's important to allow this time, but that doesn't bring me down during the day. I'm not running at that state 24/7. I'm allowing myself to dip into those states when I feel triggered, when I feel those emotions come up. I will cry. I've cried more in the last month than I have in a long, long time, in many years, but that's fine because it's a cleansing process and I'm letting it out. I'm not suppressing it. I'm not bottling it up. And that is the worst thing that you can do. So yes, I think it's important to stay in a high frequency and elevate your soul, but sometimes elevating our soul does mean doing the shadow work, looking into the darkness, crying, letting the anger out, and not spiritual bypassing. I hope you guys learned something from this podcast episode. If you want to share it with a friend or family member, please do so. You can screenshot it or just forward them the link. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day, enjoy the rest of your week, get outside, get in the sunshine. It's the best thing you can do for your body right now. I'll see you on the next episode. Bye.